Hello everyone, my name is Ostroumov, and today I would like to start a short course of mini lectures in the field of avionics. Thus, we will try to cover the most common topics of avionics structure development in the field of civil aviation. Therefore, welcome for my videos, and I hope it will be helpful for you. Modern aviation is extremely developing type of transport. Aviation has changed significantly in one century only. Single glider structure of aircraft has been developing in a variety of different types in less than 100 years. Nowadays, aircraft includes airplanes, helicopters, balloons, airships, and many other new types of flying vehicles. Variety of all of these aircraft types is a result of successful implementation of different robust control in multiple parts of airframe systems. Any modern aircraft is a highly complexity system with millions of electronic components, simultaneously operation of which make possible to create control flight with the required lift power. Any equipment of modern civil aircraft is guided and controlled by electronic devices. Take-off en route flight and landing are performed using many different electronic systems. Electronic equipment ensures the functioning of the whole air transportation system based on criteria providing a required level of flight safety. First of all, let me introduce what does it mean avionics. If you look through the web or different books, you will find a million of different description of what does it mean avionics. Thus, let's try to understand what does it mean. First of all, the word avionics first time was found in technical description of onboard equipment of aircraft approximately 40 years ago. And term avionics comes from two different words. It means aviation and electronics. Thus, if we mix first part of aviation and the final part from electronics, onics, we will get avionics. Thus, if we go in this way, you can get description of avionics as any electronics which is used in aviation. However, in different books, many scientists use this description only for onboard part of electronic equipment. Therefore, from my side and from different scholars, avionics means electrical equipment on board of airplane or aircraft. Also, it is important that many onboard systems are distributed, and some of this system uses parts located on the ground, located on board of other airplane, or even at the space segment. If you talk, for example, about iridium communication, or about ADS-B, or about GNSS. Thus, we cannot use avionics if you talk about ground equipment or spaceborne equipment of some satellites. and in this case we need to use some other terms to describe particular systems. Therefore, avionics we can use only when we talk about some flying vehicles located in airspace. Air transportation supported by numerous ground-based and space-based equipment. During the whole flight, onboard system of airplane use navigation signals from space-based radio beacons, ground-based navigational aids, integrate with surveillance radars, and provide continuous data transfer to air traffic control service. A variety of ground equipment services any flight in order to guarantee the required level of flight safety. And in this case, term avionics we cannot use when we talk about ground equipment. Thus, let me check. Thus, if we talk about aircraft, yes, we can use avionics for any electrical parts on board of aircraft. If we talk about balloon, the same idea that a balloon is a vehicle within the airspace in atmosphere of our planet. That's why we can refer avionics term to any onboard electrical system of balloon. Also, you can ask which avionics we can use on board of balloon. In this case, some of them I can answer, because balloon can use control airspace, and in this case it should be equipped with air traffic control radar beacon system, which means ADS-B transponder on board. Another equipment, it is navigation and communication should be present in balloon environment. Let's go next. Helicopter. I think it is clear that, of course, in case of electronical equipment of helicopter, we can clearly use avionics term. Let's go next. An airship. Nowadays, it is not so popular a mean of transportation. However, approximately 60 years ago, it was quite popular, and many airships perform cross-continental flights. Thus, airship it is one of the hidden technology in air transportation. However, nowadays it comes back because gas is used, and a particular structure of airship become more safe. Thus, airships come back to the air transportation as well. Airship is located in the atmosphere, and we can classify it as aviation mean. Therefore, airship, it is aviation, and if it is aviation, it is also related to avionics, because remember that avionics, it is aviation plus electronics. Going next, what about UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle? Of course, it is the same flying vehicle, however without pilot, or it is does not true, because pilot present, however it was remotely located somewhere. That's why UAV, it is the same that airplane. There is only absence of human on board. Also, next one, simple glider also can be referred to their aviation. It means that all onboard electrical equipment we can refer to avionics. Thus, all of this equipment we 100% can refer to avionics. Any ground part, unfortunately, we cannot refer because ground part located not in airspace, it located on the ground. That's why it is not airspace. If it is not airspace, it is not aviation. Let's go next. Also, we have talked about satellites. There are many of them: communication, navigation. However, could we use term avionics to onboard equipment of satellite? I don't think so, because satellite we cannot refer to aviation. Why? Because it is not in atmosphere of our planet. Because aviation talking about vehicles within atmosphere of our planet, and satellites are not in their atmosphere. They're in their space. That's why we unfortunately cannot use, I think, avionics if you talk about electrical equipment of satellites. Thus, we cannot use it for satellites. Also, if we can imagine, then in future we will get some starship like Enterprise. Yep. Could we use word avionics to describe onboard electronical equipment of Enterprise? Also, I don't think so, because even if you talk about Enterprise, it cannot develop to fly in atmosphere of our planet. It means that it was developed for space traveling, and from my point of view, it doesn't make sense to use avionics to equipment of Enterprise or any spacecraft. The same case when we talk about Starship from SpaceX or any Starship or spacecrafts, because they are developed to usage within the space, and there is no gases. It can be used only within space. Some of you can talk me that yes, of course, if you talk about rocket, the initial phase of flight will be within gas layer of our planet. It means that it will be particularly developed to accelerate spacecraft in the atmosphere of our planet to force gravitation. Okay, it is a very tricky thing. Okay, in this case, I can tell you that yes, you agree, and only for first stage or first part of such kind rocket we can apply avionics, because it will be fully operated within atmosphere of our planet, and then Starship will be injected into the space. However, during the lift of process, the initial part of rocket can be used in atmosphere. That's why, okay, it is not aviation. However, with some extra points, we can refer this thing to avionics. However, it is not truly aviation. Thus, let's summarize a little bit. From my point of view, and if we go in a logical way, aviation is represented with a set of different flying crafts or vehicles which operates in the atmosphere of our planet. All other equipment, even if it is just moved vehicles on the ground, we cannot refer to aviation. Thus, everything on ground, it is not aviation, it is not avionics. If you talk about space base application, I think in this case we need to develop a new word. We need to introduce something like Spaceonics. Okay, with first part space and electronics. If at avionics we are talking about aviation electronics. If you talk about space, I think it should be something like Spaceonics, space electronics, or electronics using in space. That's why it should be Spaceonics. Let's go next. Quite tricky thing. If you talk about moon, many years ago it was space program Apollo, and it was landing module of Apollo. Landing module of Apollo. It was land. That's why it operates in their space near moon. Could we refer onboard equipment of landing module of Apollo space program to avionics? It is good question. However, from my point of view, not. Why? Because in moon we do not have airspace. Of course, we have some gas layer, which with very poor quantity of these gases, because they are disappeared in the space, and I think we cannot use avionics to future electronics on board of flying vehicles within the poor atmosphere of moon, because this atmosphere is poor and is equal approximately to 0, we can imagine. That's why I don't think so. However, in case of Mars, everything can be different. If you talk about Perseverance rover, of course we cannot use avionics word. Why? Because this is rover, and this rover is hardly connected to the ground. That's why it is not a good idea to call something with flying vehicle, with equipment which for the full time is touch with ground. That's why for onboard equipment of Perseverance it is also not good idea to use word avionics. However, for equipment of Integrity, the first Mars helicopter, it could be for 100%, because first, in Mars we have atmosphere. It is not the same with Earth's atmosphere. However, we have much more gases than on the moon. And Integrity Mars helicopter use some particular scheme of flying vehicle construction to use a mass of gases to produce a lift. That's why integrity and any electronics of integrity helicopter we can refer to the avionics. And the same we can use to specific crane system which used to move perseverance on the ground of Mars from their entrance the atmosphere and to the landing. That's why this phase was quite short, approximately like less than 30 seconds. However, yes, everything which is flying within the atmosphere or within the gas masses, we can refer it to aviation, and we can refer to their avionics. Another thing, if we I think we make clear with aviation, that's why now you know everything which is flying in gas masses, including air. It is we can refer to aviation, and it means that for onboard equipment of these vehicles we can apply term avionics. Next component, it is electronics. For what does it mean electronics, and for which equipment we can apply? Of course, if you talk about wing or some mechanical part, it doesn't make any sense called it electronics. Even if you tell me that in the body of aircraft we have static electricity, and in body it means we have some amount of voltage, and it means in body of aircraft we have some electricity, and it means that body it is body of aircraft, it is also avionics. Not. In this case we talk about particular systems or equipment specially developed to perform particular function and with the help of electricity. It means we can refer everything to avionics, and of course if you talk about cockpit, everything inside of cockpit, including including electronic flight instrument system, flight management system, any knobs, any touch screen, anything we can refer to avionics, because it is electrical equipment. Also, there are different blocks, which is line replaceable units. We also can refer to avionics, and also all the cables, because cables uses electricity. Thus, cables, it is some kind of data bus, which is part of electrical system. Even if we talk about optical fiber, also we can refer to their avionics. However, in this case, optical fiber does not use electrical signals inside. However, it uses light traveled inside. However, this light was generated by electrical equipment. Thus, we use transmitter and receiver for some photons in optical device, and it means that also we can refer it to the electronics, because transmitter and receiver is electrical devices. Thus, any wire on board of aircraft, any lamp or any switch, everything that in touch with electricity, it is avionics. However, if you talk about passenger equipment, modern passenger aircraft has a variety of different passenger equipment. This equipment does not used for aircraft guidance. It actually doesn't use for any support of aircraft. It used only for entertainment purpose of onboard passenger. To create some kind of comfort during the long time traveling. Could we refer passenger system to avionics? From my point of view, yes, because it is located on board of aircraft, it uses electronics, and this system is used to provide particular level of services for passenger who is the primary person on board of aircraft. Thus, from my point of view, passenger equipment, light, it is also avionics equipment. However, if we talk about rescue, a particular case, flight data recorder or black box. However, it's not actually black, it's much more orange, as you can see from this slide. However, on board of flight recorder, we have some ultrasonic beam, which will be initiated automatically after aircraft crash. Thus, could we refer flight recorder and this ultrasonic beacon to avionics? If you talk about flight recorder, definitely yes, because it is in continuously using during the whole flight. However, if you talk about ultrasonic beam, because it is absolutely separated like subsystem of flight recorder, and will be initiated after the crash, and in case if crash will be happened under the water surface, ultrasonic beam helps to identify location of flight recorder very precisely. Thus, from my point of view, we cannot refer ultrasonic beam to avionics equipment, because during the whole flight or operation of aircraft in the airspace, this system does not used. Ultrasonic beam will be switched on only in case if it will be inside of water and in case of the crash. That's why, unfortunately, I think we cannot refer ultrasonic beacon to their avionics of aircraft. The same thing with specific rescue radios, which can be used after the crash, because during the flight it is not used. Thus, we cannot refer it to avionics. And finally, let's summarize what we have. Therefore, for avionics, we can refer any electrical equipment used on board of aircraft to support its operation. What does it mean? It means any electrical equipment which is used on board during the operation of aircraft. Thus, everything which is switched on or may be switched on during the flight in the airspace means we can refer to avionics equipment. Thank you. I think it is time for stop for today. I think also I have answered your question. What does it mean avionics? And next time we will talk about history of aviation equipment. Thus, thank you very much for watching this video. See you next time.